Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, it's Josh, and here we have Game 3 and a best of 3 between these two excellent German players. The first is Maus Hasu, aka HasuObs. He is the red Protoss down here on the bottom left of Xel'Naga Caverns, and his opponent is GoOdy, the purple Terran up here on the top right. Both games that we've seen already went pretty long, and both of these guys are very good macro players. They actually both did the same builds 2 games in a row, so I would not be surprised if they each did the same build for a 3rd game in a row. GoOdy's build of choice, of course, being that 1-1-1 build into 4 factory mech. Didn't turn out too well for him last game, but the first game it looked quite good against Hasu, especially with all the good harassment he was able to get with those siege tanks and Hellions. And HasuObs' strategy looking more like a few gateways here and there with a sprinkling of Void Rays and Psy Storms. And so GoOdy actually was the more defensive player in the first game with some good harassment. HasuObs actually was a more defensive player in the second game as a result, and was able to defend all the harassment and eventually build up an army capable of taking out those tank lines and basically obliterating all the anti-air that GoOdy had on the map. So this being Game 3, it's going to be for all the marbles or all the beans or whatever they play for in Germany, probably all the beer. And yeah, this game is for all the beer. I like that. So whoever wins this game gets a lot of beer. And you know Germans, they love beer, so they're going to be playing their hearts out for this. I'm not sure actually what this best of 3 was played for. Probably cash if I had to guess, but I think beer is a good, good prize for playing StarCraft 2 at a very high level. So HasuObs, sending that early probe scout, wants to see everything he can before that ramp is walled off. It looks like GoOdy has been a fan of walling off against Protoss in the first 2 games. So Hasu, knowing this, wants to see what he can. Nothing is out of the ordinary, though. That orbital command shows up right on time. If we check back at Hasu's base, the cybernetics core should have actually possibly started by now. No, it looks like he's just going to keep cranking out probes, and now the cybernetics core comes down once it gets 150 minerals. 18 cybernetics core, if you're a big fan of watching those numbers, which, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. They usually don't make too much difference unless they're totally radical numbers like, 8 cybernetics core. That would be pretty interesting stuff. But GoOdy is taking a look around, hasn't seen anything out of the ordinary here for Hasu. Second gas coming in now. Pretty standard stuff for him anyway. He's done that the last 2 games in a row. Factory coming in for GoOdy, also what I would expect, followed by a quick starport. No tech lab on the barracks this time around, though. The first game we saw some Marauder action early on, and the second game we actually saw a Reaper come out of this barracks first. So both games he has built that tech lab pretty quick. This time he's not going for that. So we'll see what he is up to, what he's got up his sleeve. 3rd pylon coming in. Warp gate tech has not even started. That's a bit interesting to me, although he is getting a second warp gate. There is that warp gate tech. Second gateway, I should say. It's not a warp gate yet. 1 zealot in charge of defending this entire base. Finally, a sentry comes to join him. Much better defender of entire bases due to the ramp and force field combination. Probe shows up back at GoOdy's base. Not going to be able to see anything. Single marine, actually 2 marines, able to ward him off. Starport coming in just as expected. Tech lab being built on the factory, though. So that means Banshees are probably more likely than siege tanks and Viking, like we saw the last 2 games. GoOdy, are you planning on doing cloaked Banshees? You can tell me. And if you don't tell me, I'm just going to see in a couple of minutes anyway, so, might as well tell me. Oh, I get it. You don't want Hasu to see what you're up to. I understand. Okay. So Hasu, this is the time for your tech switch. Looks like you're going to be building a robotics facility and expanding. Usually we like to see an expand after some aggression or after defending a big push, because your opponent, not your other player, your opponent is at a disadvantage. But Hasu likes to take his natural pretty quick. It looks like Lost Temple, he did the exact same thing. So these sentries show up and kill an SCV of GoOdy and then just head back home. That was like some strange coincidental timing. But GoOdy not doing anything too crazy. He did actually flip the starport onto the tech lab. He is getting Banshee and he is getting Cloak. I have not seen this game yet. I don't know who wins. I want to see if this Banshee is going to be effective or not. If we check out Hasu's base, this robotics facility is not quite done yet, but he does have plenty of time to get an observer out. He does get the observer right away. I'm not sure if he's thinking Banshee or even expecting it, because the first 2 games were both so mech intensive. This 3rd gateway is now finishing up for Hasu. 3 gates and a robo facility off of 2 bases. He needs to go ahead and get that saturated. If we look at units, Looks like the unit count is actually pretty close. 25 SCVs and a mule are equal to 27 probes, so that all checks out. Siege Tech is being researched over at that factory with the Tech Lab add-on. The first Banshee is completed. Cloak is not quite complete. This is a 1.0 replay, so I can't quite see what level cloaking is at unless I actually go back over to that starport, which is a pain, and I don't want to miss this Banshee getting crazy amount of kills. And there are cloak finishes, so I don't have to look anyway. But he shows up at this expansion, doesn't even need to cloak yet because there are no anti-air units in the area. Stalkers and sentries finally showing up. He is very quick to hit that cloak button. He only lost 10 HP, but now there is an observer getting very close, and that Banshee is lost. So I'm not sure if GoOdy was expecting the observer to be out on time. He did not really try to evade the anti-air very much after he was caught, so he kept shooting for probes. He did get a couple of kills, but as we look at units again, Hasu is right where he needs to be in terms of probe count. Now he just has to rebuild a couple that he lost there. So Hasu, what are you going to be doing, sir? Another Banshee right here in the middle of the map, not able to do anything. That observer actually flew right past him. And there is a probe at the Xel'Naga Tower that spotted him, so looks like Hasu is just going to remain at his base for a little while, going to make sure that this cloaked Banshee also doesn't manage to kill off too much. And tanks coming out now for GoOdy, tanks and marines. It looks like he's switching gears a little bit now that he knows his Banshee play has been discovered and is not going to be as effective as he would like. This observer getting a good look around. Actually, he hasn't even fully looked around yet. He hasn't even seen this command center being built yet. But Hasu working off 2 bases. If we check out the income, it actually does not look to be a huge difference just yet. Minerals keep bouncing around between 900 and 1,000. He is ahead on gas, though. This third gas is going to give him that advantage. And back at the production tab, another gateway coming in. This will put him at 4 gateways and a robotics facility. Blink coming in before charge this time around. There is the Templar Archive that we saw the first 2 games coming right in. Hasu likes his storms. There's an observer parked over the natural expansion area of GoOdy, so he's going to float right into it. This Banshee against several Stalkers here with no detection there. That detection did finally come in. The Banshee killed off another Stalker, but the Banshee did go down. Looks like Hasu is on the move with this Tier 1 mix. Looks like GoOdy actually does have quite a few units here to defend against this. He could even siege up one of the tanks in the back and be just fine against this, I believe. Good force field, though, there to prevent some losses. That Zealot is not going to be useful here in this fight, so Hasu pretty much just retreats, fully retreats back to his base and waits for some reinforcements. 3 more Stalkers at the Xel'Naga Tower. Is GoOdy going to pursue him all the way, though? It looks like he is planning to bring in a bunch of Marines and tanks to follow these guys to the Xel'Naga Tower. Hasu, what are you going to do to defend against this? Are you going to run all the way home to your natural so that you can set up a barricade of Zealots and Stalkers and sentries? Looks like GoOdy is pretty much just going to park himself at the Xel'Naga Tower. No, just a single siege tank. He's going to build a turret very close by, though. That's kind of interesting. Siege tanks now sieging up outside of the natural. A turret is being built. Marauder coming in by the side. You know, don't leave me hanging. It's go time. Worse than Banelings, mass Tier 1 Protoss. But siege tanks do quite well against Tier 1 Protoss, especially if they can't, you know, hit back. These 2 Stalkers up on the cliff are going to be able to shoot down, but out of range of this turret. They're going to be able to hit this bunker from here, though. So actually, GoOdy pulling a few SCVs here to come along. Really wants this attack to go well. He brought a repair force of about 6 SCVs. There's explosions going on all over the place, so that scan, those siege tanks were able to kill those Stalkers up on the cliff, but there are still a lot of Tier 1 units and an Immortal here to prevent GoOdy from getting too much closer. Oh my goodness, this Immortal is going to go down. The hardened shields get blown through very quickly. This Marauder is left hanging. It is no longer go time. GoOdy has an army advantage here, 69 food against 65, and the positional advantage. Basically, Hasu cannot move out of his base if he warps in up here, cannot support his main if he warps in down here. Tanks going down one at a time. Doesn't look like GoOdy's actually been reinforcing this whole time, so if he loses these 4 remaining tanks, he could be in a very bad position. More bunkers and turrets being built all the time. That's kind of interesting. You know, these tanks are in a good position to kill basically anything Hasu can throw at him, but Hasu has that Protoss fighting spirit. He's getting more Immortals and more Stalkers as fast as he can. There's still 4 siege tanks up, and now reinforcements are coming in, a single Marauder at a time, a couple of Hellions here to help out. Not sure what Hasu's going to be able to do. This full health Immortal comes over the cliff and doesn't get any shots off. He loses almost his entire hardened shield